Okay, everyone, welcome back to Crown by KO. It's been a while. Been out on vacation, then got back and swamped with work and everything else that's happening in life. But that being said, grateful to have you tuning into this video, and I'm gonna try to stay on track and pump these out maybe 3 times a week. Now I was trying to do twice a week. I'm gonna pump it up to 3 because I really got a lot of content, a lot of things to talk about and get out. And I want to make sure I'm doing it in a timely manner to help all of those who are watching these videos and to make sure I keep you all interested and engaged, because the more we do it, the deeper we'll go into this battle of church, religion, living according to the words and promises of God and all of that. So with that being said, today's topic is going to be imagination. And I want to talk specifically about how to use the imagination for good, right? So I really believe this is a very important kingdom principle in helping us understand how to live to our God-given potential, how to live an abundant and crowned life. And I think when we look at what imagination is, how it's used in the church, it was really thought of and looked at as a taboo. And I believe that most of it was because of the way that we've talked about it and interpreted it. But without understanding imagination, is really limiting us to really understanding who God is or how he is, and being able to exercise, study, and go deeper into some of the concepts and kind of spiritual things that God wants us to understand and know. He wants to reveal these things to us. So it's really up to us to be able to see it without seeing it, using our imagination. But with that, I want to talk about 2 instances in the Bible where imagination is mentioned, and talk about how I believe biblical teaching has kind of misconstrued how we should think about imagination. And I'm going to start with this one. The first book of the Bible, Genesis. God says this, that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And I really want to point out the word only, because my whole time reading that until recently, I never really noticed that word. I always noticed evil continually. I always noticed, imagination and in the heart and wickedness and all of those things, but not that small word of only. And I think when we teach that, we need to really point out that only word, letting us know that imagination can be good as well, but right here, man's imagination was only evil. All right, that's one. The second one is, that was the Old Testament. Let's look at the New Testament. 2 Corinthians. This is the 10th chapter, and I think a lot of you all probably heard this one, but the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. And then it goes, and Paul writes, casting down every imagination that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ, against the knowledge of Jesus, against who he is, what he taught. And I really believe, again, based on how you were taught, I know how I was taught. I never really looked at that in the sense of imagination can be good if it wasn't antichrist, right? Because that's basically what it's saying. If you are thinking imagination and anything that is against who Jesus is, what he taught, what he did, how he lived, then you should be casting those things down. You should be pulling those things down and getting rid of those out of your mind, out of your heart, out of your thinking, And I think when I look at those 2 instances of imagination, it really points to how, again, religion has crippled the church. It has crippled the church in the way that we study, in the way that we read scripture, in the way that we try to really understand God. Because again, only continually evil. So now we think imaginations are only evil. To the casting down of imaginations, anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Again, if your imaginations are being thought and you're thinking of these things that are against God, then you need to stop. But what about the things that are good, right? What about the things that within my imagination, I think about heaven, I think about God, I think about Jesus, and it really opens my mind up to being able to receive more and understand more, because I'm not limiting who he is or how the world can function, how the kingdom of heaven can function. And with that, you'll be able to use your imagination more so that you can make sure that you're doing these things in a good way that are benefiting your life, helping you understand the Bible, helping you understand God, and building a deeper relationship. But let's talk about imagination and what it means and how we use it and all of that. Imagination in its most basic sense is our thoughts. More specifically, it is our minds being creative about how things can function or how things can exist. It is you being able to see the end product or the end result from the beginning. Even if it seems impossible, far-fetched, any of those things, you're still able to see it because you're using your imagination. And our imagination is really our mind just creating images, pictures, scenarios, and everything about what we're thinking about or what we may want to see, what we may want to do. All of those things, your imagination creates it first, and then you try to act on those images, you try to act on those scenes to bring it to become reality, right? So it starts internally within your mind, within the thought, within the picture, and then you try to get that to be expressed externally or exist externally in this realm of reality, right? We can't experience it with our five senses, at least not yet. So think about it like this. I know I always ask students this as like a icebreaker question or would you rather type of question, but would you rather be able to fly or would you rather have super speed? So be able to be flying around like Superman or have speed like the Flash. Which one? Now, think about what you just did in that moment. I'm pretty sure you just imagined yourself doing one of those two things. Maybe you imagined yourself doing both of them. And then, based on whichever one you believe you would want to experience and that you would benefit the most from, you would say that's the one that I would rather have. For me, it would be flying. I just want to be able to fly. I want to be able to see things from a different view and all that other stuff. But that's just me. So which one would you rather be able to do? But again, you imagine yourself doing it. Think about what you like, what you enjoy, and then that will dictate what your answer is going to be. And look, it's not a bad thing. Imagination is not a bad thing. Again, let's break this traditional religious way of thinking about things because they like to look at God as this mystical being that no one can understand or know and this, that, and other. And don't get me wrong, we can't comprehend who God is or how he is, but we can understand things about him. Nobody wants to have a relationship with a person that they don't understand or they can't understand. And God knows this, which is why he wants us to be able to understand him. He wants to reveal himself to us so that we can understand who he is, how he is, so that we can become closer to him and have a deeper relationship, a deeper connection. But it's hard to do that if you can't imagine, right? So I really want us to think about how we are using our imagination when it comes to God, when it comes to life in general, but specifically using our imagination for good. Every advancement in society, every advancement in civilization would not exist if no one used their imagination. We would still be how we were thousands of years ago. No clothes, no nothing. The way we eat is still by hunting and gathering. I don't even know if we would be hunting because who would have thought to grab a stick or something and make it sharp so that they can use it as a knife or a spear or anything like that. So every invention we have, everything or every way that we've advanced and grown and revolutionized has been because a person used their imagination. Think about it. We got light, we got cars, we got airplanes, we got all of these things because people said, I think this can work. I think this can happen. And a lot of people became obsessed with that until it became a reality around them. Or a lot of people did it and did it and did it, and maybe it didn't even exist in their lifetime. But somebody else picked it up and was like, oh, I see what he thought. This is what he was imagining. Let me see if I can make it happen. So even if the first person came along, didn't get it done, somebody else came and picked it up and moved it further and further and further till we got to where we are now, starting with the automobiles, going 10, 20 miles per hour. Now we got, all of these Chargers and Hellcats and Ferraris and everything that's out there that's going 200 plus. So again, imagination is not a bad thing. It is what we need to understand to be able to advance in our lives, to be able to continue to grow, continue to evolve, because without it, we'll just be lost, we'll be plain, we'll be limiting what we're supposed to be doing here on earth. But let's look at Jesus, because again, I want to take what Jesus says and really put it into a lens where we can understand how to apply it to our lives, right? All of his teachings, sayings, all of that. So while Jesus was here on earth, there was a time where he was traveling with his disciples, and they were traveling. He was hungry. So they walked past this fig tree, and this fig tree had no fruit on it. And Jesus said, you know what, you fig tree? Nobody is going to ever eat the fruit of this tree again, ever. And he cursed the tree. He cursed it, and his disciples probably right there looking like, man, this guy is really hungry. He just talked to that tree and cursed the tree. The tree ain't do nothing for him. The tree wasn't even supposed to be bearing fruit at the time. But Jesus cursed the tree. They went on. They went and did what they did. They were traveling back to where they came from and past the same tree a day or so later. And his disciples were amazed. They was like, oh my God, Lord, that fig tree that you cursed is dead. It was withering away. The branches were breaking off. Leaves was turning brown and crunchy and all of that stuff when fall come. And they were amazed. And Jesus used that again as a teaching opportunity. And this is what he did. He told them, anyone who has the faith, the grain, or the size of a mustard seed, again, start imagining, thinking about this, picturing it in your head, a mustard seed, that small, can say, or will be able to say unto this mountain, be removed, so take it up, and be cast into the sea. So pick it up from where it's at and throw it in the sea. But he also tells us the way that it could happen. So he said that could happen, but only if you do this. Only if you have no doubt in your heart and you believe that the things that you said are going to come to pass. And then he goes and say that that type of person, the person who exercises that and does that, will have whatever they say. And that's something else, whatever they say. That's the power of speech. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in the next video after this. So if you're tuning in, make sure you tune in to that one. But again, the thing I want to focus on in this video is using your imagination. So first, Jesus gave them something that they could visualize, something that they could see. And even go back to that fig tree, when they were walking past that fig tree and he talked to it and he said, I curse you. Those disciples weren't imagining in their head, oh man, this tree gonna be gone. They was probably imagining in their head, we need to get this man some food before he start cursing us or something. But they probably weren't thinking about how that fig tree was going to look or what was going to happen to that fig tree. That's why when they passed it again, they were just so amazed and taken away by it. But again, the power of imagination. If Jesus didn't think that or didn't know, because he knew that whatever he said to that fig tree would happen, I'm pretty sure that when he saw it, he didn't see any fruit on it. He said, you know what? You're going to stay like that forever. Ain't no fruit ever going to be on this tree. And he probably saw it that way. He saw it decayed and deteriorating when he said what he said. You will have whatever you say. That's the thing that's amazing about this. Even when you talk about this, so it's so descriptive that you can imagine. And I believe that Jesus did that on purpose. He wanted us to be able to imagine these things and see them happening before they did. The point I want to drive home is that without an imagination, it is difficult. It is very, very difficult to exercise faith. Faith is closely tied to your imagination and how you're imagining things. And then it's also closely tied to your speech, which we're going to focus on in the next video. So use your imagination. Use it for good. Use it to try things that are different. My godfather, he tells me all the time that we should just try things. Try certain things. Use your imagination. Think about how you train pets. You know that they can't understand you. But in your head, you see them following your commands. You know that if you say it enough, if you train them enough, if you discipline them enough, they're going to eventually do it. But again, you start with the end in mind. You start with what the end product, what the end result will be. And that's what you start working towards. That's what Thomas Edison did. That's what all of these other inventors did. They saw that end in mind. They knew exactly what they wanted to create. And they worked and worked and worked until it happened. That's how you portray the life, or that's how you build the life that you want to live. That's how you gain the things that you want to gain. You start by seeing it first. You start by imagining it first. And then you create it and make it real in this world, in this reality, so that it can happen and come to pass. So again, we can really deepen our understanding of Jesus and God, the Bible, the kingdom of heaven, and everything that God was trying to get us to understand, or everything that God wants us to know now. We can unlock all of that if we just open up our minds and use our imagination. Because if we don't, We'll be allowing religion to win. We'll be allowing religion to constrict us and restrain us again, and telling us what we can't do versus what we can do, or telling us what we shouldn't do versus what we should be doing. But use your imagination. That's a kingdom principle. And that is something that will take your life to the next level, as well as what I'm going to say in the next video. So please make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. Again, I'm trying to give these concepts so we can live crown lives and live an abundant life, a life free from all of these can'ts or cannots, and a life with all of these cans and shoulds and wills, right? So that's what I want you all to understand. That's what I want to share with you all. I do be asking for comments because I really do want them. And when I ask questions, I really do want responses. But again, tune into the next video and I will let you know the power of speech and how speaking can revolutionize and change your life. But like I say all the time, if you never hear anything else from me, if you don't watch another video, please, please, please remember this one thing. The purpose of life is to live. So do that. All right? Until next time.